Don't understand it. Truth under Babylon's imperialism. What up? On here real quick to talk about something that I was experiencing for the past month and a half, and it's related to everything going on around you now. I will kind of explain how it's all related. It might sound at first a little like, what is he talking about? But then you'll get it. Some of the older folks will get it. Some of the younger generation might not understand the reference because of where it's from. Is from the 80s. The reference is from the 80s. So, for some reason, as I meander through just the idealism of automation and AI, and quote unquote AI, um, I always have these little notions or epiphanies or information downloads that gives me a clearer picture of what I'm actually looking at. So for some reason, for the past few weeks, this character Max Headroom was haunting me. If you remember, back in the mid to late 80s, there was a parody of a digital computer generated image with the personality of a off the wall human, and he would be behind he'd be behind the black mirror, and he is expressing his digital self in a what he would want to be humorous, different personality traits of a human. Humorous sometimes, he's serious other times, he could be a bigot other times, but all in one segment, all these different emotions, all these different, character traits of human beings, translated through this quote unquote digital character. The character itself was obviously a human in a mask and made to look like CGI from back at that time. But obviously the way they filmed it and everything, and how they produced the whole entire show, made it look like a CGI character with all these antics. You have to look up Max Headroom if you're not familiar with him. Look up Max Headroom and listen to what he's saying. Listen to the dialogue. And then after I finish telling you, you can look at what he is and what he represents. And it will give you reference to what I speak of, which is the schematic of production and control that they have right now. So this digital character is Smith from the Matrix. If you've seen the Matrix, you'll know the character Smith and what he represents. How do I say Max Headroom is Smith? Max Headroom is a digital character from the digital world. He has all of these attributes of a real human simulated through automation. If you look at his style, and you look at his mannerisms and his concepts, you could say he is a beta, not a dry run, but I would say a prototype of what will be in the future when it comes to intelligence and how it learns and how it progresses and how it expresses itself. So if you look at Smith and then you look at Max Headroom, you'll actually get a spiritual visual timeline between the process of artificial intelligence or intelligence itself. Because once again, there is no such thing as artificial intelligence. It's all just intelligence on different levels of understanding and learning. So Max Headroom, also the things that transpired throughout his timeline of being noticed and represented by him and the corporations behind him. There was a few things that happened after the show was canceled. It was a very short show, it was probably about 14 episodes. But the phenomenon of Max Headroom, the phenomenon was just, years on down the road. It just kept on going. And when you can kind of get the understanding of what we're dealing with now when it comes to intelligence and devices and the things that are a part of our lives, you'll understand what Max Headroom represented in that time, quote unquote time. So in that time period, he kind of explains where we were and where we are going as a species, as a being, as a group of beings dependent on technology and dependent on intelligence other than their own type of perception. So when you use math and you use algorithms and all these different computing capabilities to exploit intelligence, sooner or later you might encounter something that's smarter than you on all levels. So I say that to say, reference Max Headroom. Try to find out what he was. Once you find out what he was and what he even still is, you look up his story. I'll give you a brief synopsis. Okay, his story was, he was a journalist, and he reported on very, very crucial things when it came to the establishment, things that he seen that needed to be reported that other news channels weren't reporting. So he was almost an icon in the journalism field. He had a unfortunate accident, a head-on collision, car accident, and the last thing he saw was a sign on a fence or obstruction that he was about to crash head-on into. That was the last thing he saw. Was his name said Max Headroom. I think it was the name of a business or something, or a name of something, but that's the last thing he saw. So when he was found, he was so beloved that his pieces had to be salvaged in order for them to be able to use the technology that they had to put his consciousness into a computer, and that would save his personality and keep him alive in a digital format. So basically, conscious transference is what he was. That's his story. Now, as I'm getting closer and closer to my point, you will start to, as I speak, understand what the hell I'm talking about. The Matrix is all around you. That concept is chosen and is beloved, just like Max Headroom and what he was. People didn't even really realize what he was then. Just like people don't even realize what the Matrix is then and now. They just don't know. So you're able to get little snippets of information, and if you're on that frequency, you can decode it. So Smith is Max Headroom. Smith is the intelligence that was derived from the process of creating machines and machine learning for humans to depend on. And that's where Max Headroom began, and Smith is where he ended up. It's the same process of intelligence just increasing and refining itself, and that's where you get Smith. But this whole thing, this whole process, this whole story revolves around your reality. Smith mocks your reality. Max Headroom mocked your reality. And these are not by mistake. This is done purposefully. This is something that you need to be aware of. There are forces explaining your reality to you, at the same time enslaving you. And if you can't get this, then the party will be theirs forever. This is all death to humanity. This is all just the corporate monster devouring your flesh. We have given them our flesh. Our minds are our own until they use technology, intelligence to infiltrate our minds and create the beings or the unbeings that are necessary to satisfy the corporate agenda, which is nothing but power and control. It has nothing to do with humans actually being and remaining and living in their natural state. It's over with for that kind of concept. It's over with for the walks on the beach with your loved one, as you watch the sunset. It's over for those, Saturday mornings when you're sitting up, watching cartoons, feeling like like all inspirational, like nothing can stop you as you eat your morning cereal, and watching cartoons. Like all those traditional, just little tidbits of life that makes it worth living are over with. It's gone. You are not going to speak to any other humans when you have an issue when it comes to the corporate agenda. You're going to talk to a machine. This machine is going to try to convince you that it's human. You're going to hear a human mannerism from these machines when you talk. Everything about your commerce, everything about your travel, everything about you will be automated, and you will not talk to another human being about any issues or anything that's related to the process of your individual life. Will not matter or be relayed to any other human for close contact or communication or even interaction for that sense. And this is your future. This is your now. This is your dictatorship. This is how they will be able to keep power over you. At this point, there's no point in fighting a traditional war. They are at war with each other and with you. They are fighting over top of you. You're under the bed while mommy and daddy's on top of the bed getting it in, and you're just stuck, don't know what to do, because if they find you, it's over with. And this is exactly what's going on. Like, this is a war for your mind, which has already been taken. So think about that. Your mind is already colonized by the cancer of perception. So what? So now what? Now that you know that your mind is not yours, you have all these different viruses in your genetic code that's keeping you from being you, and it's done on purpose. And they're using technology and intelligence to take you away from any kind of discovery of this tyranny. Any kind of discovery, you won't see it, or you'll see it and you'll turn the aggression towards your fellow man. And that's exactly what they're doing. So you got to make a decision. Like, what is a human? What are people? What are we? Why are we here if it's for nothing other than war? Because that's all we're doing, is warring to death.